right, NAI football fans, welcome to the NAIFBALL live show powered by AdCraft Custom Merch and Custom Apparel and Merch, your leaders in custom apparel and merch since 1974, the best in the business. We'll get to them more later. We've got Matt. You can see him this week, which is always a better way to do things, honestly. You know, when you're in a hotel room and trying to get your act together from within the hotel room, it's always a fun time. But we made it, and we had a great first weekend of action. That was, even though some of the games were absolute blowouts, it was still a lot of fun.
Yeah, there was a lot of good football being played, and even across like college football in general, pretty much all of the lower levels started their playoffs this week, and there's a lot of good stuff to watch, especially in the NAI. It was a lot of fun to follow this week.
I will say that I had very mixed feelings this weekend as a Florida State fan, playing Northern Alabama, which is coached by a former NAIA coach and former NAIA player, Brent Dearman, the former head coach at Bethel, Tennessee. The defensive coordinator was the former DC at Marion. So when Northern Alabama opens up a 13-0 lead and knocks my quarterback out for the season, it's really mixed feelings.
That's a tough one. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Like going, good on you for taking a lead, but why'd you have to hurt my quarterback?
Yeah, that was a gnarly injury too. Side note. Oh my God. So bad.
We'll beat Florida, but we're screwed afterwards. Anyway, back to AIA football. St. Thomas. Matt, the Bobcats came to play. They started fast. They went fast. They ended fast. Reinhardt had, I think, negative rushing yards at halftime.
Yeah, this is pure domination from St. Thomas. I thought this was going to be a lot closer of a matchup just historically with Reinhardt's defense and how they match up, but they couldn't stop Rontavious Farmer this week. It was almost 200 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Like, that dude is an absolute workhorse. It is insane. And I feel like he plays his best football in the postseason.
Well, this is his first postseason game, so sure, we'll go with that. Remember, St. Thomas got a little shortchanged last year.
We're pushing that. We're starting the narrative.
We're starting the narrative. That's exactly it.
That's what we do.
But you cannot discount what St. Thomas did on defense. That was, it seemed like every drive for Reinhardt started with either a tackle for loss, a sack, a no gain, a 1-yard gain. It was St. Thomas. That defense was absolutely suffocating.
Yeah, obviously 11 tackles for loss and 7 sacks on the day. That's going to do it. That's going to get in your opponent's head pretty easily. Reinhardt just straight up had no answers for anything going on. They couldn't get the ball moving. St. Thomas was just absolutely dominant on both sides of the ball. And this is what we kind of expected out of this team when it got to this stage, because we knew they were going to be very good. But to see it play out in the fashion that it did was still surprising.
Yeah, I mean, never underestimate the ability of a properly motivated team from the Miami metro area. That's the moral of this story. Next game up was Dort and Ottawa, and I know that looks like a 28-point lead, and therefore it's probably termed a blowout. Yeah, Ottawa acquitted themselves nicely.
They were pretty set. Obviously, it just kind of gets out of your hands. The style of football that Dort plays is, with the triple option and slowing the game down, they can kind of rack up points while it still seems like you have a shot to make a big play happen. Dort is as impressive as ever, obviously. Ottawa, I just think, was a little outmatched, just a little bit.
Yeah, they just couldn't get Dort off the field on 3rd and 4th down. 8 of 14 is absurd. And honestly, yeah, the Ottawa defense actually did a fairly good job. Dort was really trying really hard to take deep shots time and again, and Ottawa did not get out-muscled on those deep shots. They were covering it tight. And that's saying something. Dort plays a very physical style on both their DBs and their wide receivers. So,
Absolutely.
good on
But
you.
at the end of the day, when you can't prevent 4 touchdowns from
That
a
is
running
true.
back, it's that's gonna spell doom for you.
Yeah, no, that is true. Now, you want to talk about a game that got away? That'd be Baker, Louisiana Christian. This game, again, I'm going to say these words. This game looks like a blowout. It was not. It was 35 to 28 with 15 minutes left. LCU had a chance in the fourth quarter to come away with this, and they just started. Well, I mean, honestly, they were a turnover machine all day, and unfortunately, they were the ones dispensing turnovers.
Yeah, and when a team like Baker smells that blood in the water, it just instinct comes in and able to capitalize on those mistakes. And in a game that was for the most part pretty close, like those tiny little details are what matter. But it was a great showing, honestly, by both teams. But Palermo throwing 3 picks towards the end is not going to help your case. He's had a very solid year, though, I will say.
It has, and I mean, and you think about the fact that this is a Sooner Conference team, and we can reserve judgment on what everyone thinks about the Sooner Conference. Louisiana Christian, through 3/4 of this game, again, proved that they belonged in that ball game. It's one of those where I give the selection committee credit. Yes, these were 2 auto bids, but these belonged.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Then Dickinson State pulling it out with the first playoff win they've had since an upset of Northwestern in Orange City in, I believe, 2018. Dickinson State's Brandon Zuroff was an absolute machine. The Montana Tech play-by-play guys could not believe that Dickinson State was only using 1 running back and that he was not slowing down.
Yeah, Dickinson State just was on a roll offensively all game. And even Will Madler chiming in with 2 touchdowns of his own, paired with a running back that goes for over 203 touchdowns. Not to mention, defense had a pretty decent showing, forcing 3 interceptions. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and most of those interceptions were towards the end, but I tell you, Madler with 244 yards on 17 attempts, that's a really good yards per attempt average. I mean, that's what, quick math, 244 divided by 17, that's 14.4 yards per attempt, which I don't care what level you're at. If your quarterback's slinging it at 14.4 yards per attempt, you're winning the game.
Absolutely. Looked like a vintage Pac-12 game on that side of the ball for them.
And we will step aside real quick. We'll be back after these messages from our friends at AdCraft.
So you want to create and sell custom merch for your team or business. That's exciting, but where do you begin? How much inventory should you order? How do you distribute orders? AdCraft has your answers. Streamline the way you offer custom merch by utilizing our risk-free web store service. We ship directly to each customer, and we have the fastest turnaround in the game. Raise funds for your team or get merch to your employees and patrons. Contact AdCraft today, and let's bring your merch to life.
That is exactly what they do. They are the best in the business. I've worked with them several times. They are absolutely phenomenal with what they do. It is always a pleasure to work with them, and their web stores are just phenomenal. Such great product at such reasonable prices. Get your team's gear into the hands of your fans using their web stores. You're not going to regret it. They do a great job. Before we jump into the well, let me see. Let's take a look here. Yeah, I got one more slide before we go there. There were so many good options in terms of who to pick for a play of the week. I usually try to pair a play of the week with a player that really stood out with a great play. And this week, Baker's Rashawn Graves came to play. I really wanted that 55-yard touchdown, but the camera just lost him. So we're going to go with the, I believe it was a 39-yarder. My man in 39 yards still almost hits 20 miles an hour. Let's take a look. Yeah, just straight up the gut, finds it, and he is just gone.
Oh, no chance on that one. Holy cow.
That's what you call out the gate. So congratulations, Rashawn Graves. That was a nice play. Well set up by the Hosses up front. Always when you have a running play like that, where the C's part and your running back just sees green grass. Sure, there's some running back vision in there, but there's also 5 dudes opening that hole up big. So as we go and we look into these matchups, let's talk about seeds. That got really testy afterwards on Twitter. Look, if you joined us for the live watch along, you heard what I said. The committee released the matchups without the seeds on purpose. The committee did that so that they could have some creative freedom in the second round.
They got creative.
And by creative, I mean you went to conference matchups. Feel like Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz here. Let's see if I can do this and back away from the mic. Perry the Platypus are completely creative. And by creative, I mean completely not creative.
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
That was pretty good.
I watch way too much Phineas and Ferb. It's okay.
Hey, I'll give you that one. Yeah.
I have a small child. You know, Phineas and Ferb works for small children. We're so thankful for Connor Darnell Designs for putting these together, getting them to where they will pop on social media. If you need a graphic, commit graphic. If you want to spice it up for the playoffs, if you're one of the teams remaining, contact my buddy Connor. NAI born and bred. He still works in the NAI. He's an SID in the Sooner Conference. I mean, if anyone knows what you're dealing with, it would be Connor. So get with him. He is absolutely fantastic. So let's take a look at the matchup. It's going to go from highest seed to lowest hosting seed. And our first matchup is a repeat game, Northwestern versus Dordt.
Yeah, this is a hot Dordt team that's coming off to a pretty confident win, and obviously beating Morningside not too long ago. Feeling pretty good about where they're at, and they obviously get a rematch against their big rival in Iowa. Share the same Walmart. And obviously they're playing again. I'm excited to see this one. I think Dort's got a fire under him right now.
I mean, so that game in mid-October was a 35-14 win for Northwestern. That is, again, as a Florida State fan, having to play both Miami and Florida twice in one season, it sucks. There's no way around it. I mean, it's you feel almost a little shortchanged. I understand. Northwestern right now is rested, and that's a scary thought because Gramstad.
That's a scary thought.
Gramstad took a hit late in the season that we thought might take a week or two for him to recover from. It did not take him a week or two to recover from, but now he's got a week off.
Yeah, and a healthy Gramstad is hard to deal with entirely, as we've seen.
Yeah, and Brendan Piper there. The combination of Cruz and Piper for Dort is going to be huge. I think Dort can win the time of possession of this game and still lose it.
Absolutely.
You've got to figure out how to stop it.
Yeah, 100%.
Our next matchup, Grandview versus Dickinson State. Two teams that traditionally like to grind it out, but Jackson Waring has been an absolute revolution through the air this year for Grandview. 31 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on what effectively amounts to 2/3 completion percentage.
Yeah, this is a Grandview team that's been on a roll all season with no signs of slowing down. And Dickinson State's definitely going to be a challenge for them. They're very good defensively this year, and I think they have the weapons. Obviously, we saw Will Madler get it done, and their running backs are fantastic, as we've also talked about. I think if there's a team that can give Grandview a challenge at this point, like Dickinson State's a worthy opponent, but they have their work cut out for them.
The big question is obviously, can Grandview's defense, the second best defense in the entire NAIA, contain Braden Zuroff?
Pretty much.
That's
what it boils down to.
That there's your game. But here we go. Next matchup, Kaiser St. Thomas. Another rematch on October 7th. These two gave us a whale of a game, a 21-14 win for Kaiser. But that's a game that was narrowed in the second half. St. Thomas scored one, couldn't get it done down the stretch in the fourth quarter. It was a tight game. You've got a St. Thomas team that is, again, like I said, thoroughly motivated, coming up against a Kaiser squad that is now a battle-tested squad trying to return to claim a red banner.
Absolutely. And this is going to come down to the running backs, honestly. Jaden Mazinger has obviously been really good this year. Maybe not the workload that we've seen from their running backs in the past, but certainly getting it done for them is going to be a problem for St. Thomas to contain. But also, Rontavious Farmer on the other side of the ball, the guy that we've talked about as the workhorse for the St. Thomas team, absolutely on a roll. This is a St. Thomas team that is feeling incredible about themselves after the performance they put up last week. And they've got a lot to play for. There's a lot on the line. I mean, it's the playoffs, no duh. But obviously with the rivalry, it goes a bit further than that. And I'm very excited to see this one again.
Hey, Sun Conference football, it just means more.
Absolutely.
I'll steal that. Next up, we've got, Baker had an orange matchup last week. Well, heck, what's another orange matchup for them? Going up to Georgetown, a rested Georgetown team with a great running back like Darius Neal. We saw that the rushing attack of Louisiana Christian gave Baker some issues until Louisiana Christian started giving them the ball. This Georgetown team might be a bit more stingy with the turnovers.
Absolutely. This is a very disciplined Georgetown team that we've seen this year. And it's the reason why they came out of their gauntlet the way that they did. This is a really good team playing its best football at the right time. But Baker, man, Yulesgard, if there's a guy that can get it done against Georgetown, it is Truman Yulesgard. That guy is a good football player.
Yeah, he is, and a good rushing, a good rusher as well as passer. That's going to be a tough one for Chris Oliver's defense. But this is also a team that, when the going gets tough, Georgetown's defense has taken up the mantle in your game against Lindsey Wilson. That's a 10-0 ball game. The defense just shuts it down against a good Bethel team, a Bethel team that is a playoff team with a bye. They win 52-24. This is a Georgetown team whose defense can absolutely get it done. That's going to be your big thing is how does Darius Neal perform? Can Baker stop him? How does the Georgetown offense contain Yulesgard and Graves?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some good matchups in this one on both sides of the ball. It's going to be really fun.
Well, there's no fun like rematch up fun. St. Xavier and Marion go at it again. These first three, they've all been at the same location as their in-season game. I'm noticing that on September 9th. So, there's been a little bit of development maybe for St. X and Marion since then. St. X loses by 7 points at 28-21 victory. That Marion scores the go-ahead touchdown in the fourth quarter. It was close the first time. It's real hard to beat a team twice.
Absolutely. And one like St. Xavier, who has been on the roll in the back half of the season that they have been on. This is an extremely good defense. I mean, this defensive matchup for both teams is going to be unreal. Probably no points scored. If you like Big Ten West football, this is your matchup.
If you like punts,
this is the game.
This is the game for you. Marion's got a really good punter, and St. Xavier's punter is also their leading wide receiver, Justin Pringle. So that's fun too. St. Xavier's offense is so balanced between Amari Venerable and Justin Pringle that it is very tough to defend. And it's very hard to hold one down because the other one's gonna step up. Can the Marion defense make it happen? I mean, this is a team with an assistant coach of the year on their squad. This is going to be a fun one. This is going to be a must see TV.
Absolutely, yeah. This is great. It's going to be great.
You know what else is really fun? Having one team's head coach having been the offensive coordinator of the other one last year. That's super fun. Andrew Rohde, the head coach of Indiana Wesleyan, fresh out of Morningside with that offensive coordinator position there. Man, if there's any time that Indiana Wesleyan can get a good shot at Morningside, it's this year.
Yeah, and this is the one I'm most excited about this round. Obviously, what is the matchup against Morningside's offense versus Indiana Wesleyan's defense going to look like? I am so excited for this.
Oh, I am too. Is your front seven able to keep Lennox Brown contained? Are you able to not just pin your ears back when you see Brown back in the backfield? Are you able to have that football IQ to realize what's on the front of the jersey, adjust how you play as a defensive lineman, as a linebacker, to keep him hemmed in that pocket and not running? And then Chevalier hasn't played a whole lot. Chevalier has not played a whole lot. Now, he did play down the stretch, and he has done well. But at the same time, he has 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in his limited time. And Indiana Wesleyan can be a turnover-generating machine.
Absolutely. And it's going to be down to really how the dual quarterbacks do, because obviously any kind of wavering in the quality of plays, Indiana Wesleyan's a team that really picks up on that, as we've seen, and they go for the kill.
I think this one's the one I'm most excited about. You've got A Bethel, Tennessee team that's 10-1, your only loss being to Georgetown, who's pretty good, against an undefeated Evangel team that almost lost their last game, took it down to the wire. They've had 2 weeks to stew on how close that game was. This is going to be a fine matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute slugfest in Bethel, Tennessee, a team that I'm really high on. I guess I'm far enough into this to say I have a narrative to push about Bethel, Tennessee. Very good football team, and they get to prove it against one of the more underrated squads from this season. But Evangel is a really good football team, and they've had a lot of time to fix the mistakes that they were so worried about.
Yeah, top 10 defense here for Evangel. I'm really interested to see, if they're able to contain J.D. Dixon. I mean, you look at Colazzo's numbers. 3,100 yards is a ton anywhere you go. 70.6% passing. But J.D. Dixon has a full third of Colazzo's yards at 1,101. And half, basically, of those touchdowns at 16. If you can shut down J.D. Dixon, you might have a shot to keep Bethel down long enough to get enough points scored to win.
Absolutely, but if there's anybody that can shut them down, it's Bradley Myers. That is absolutely for sure. I mean, is that 100? Is that 39?
139. Yeah, that is that number.
Tackles.
That is an obscene amount of tackles.
Yeah, he just flies all over the field. This is going to be crazy.
It's gonna be a fun game, and we return to the same well of there's nothing like playing a team twice. I'm checking to make sure that's only twice because, in the Frontier, sometimes you get these double-up matchups. And it could have been the third time they're playing. I don't know. That would have been terrible. But on September 9th, these two matched up. And on this one, it's going to flip. The last game was in Caldwell, Idaho. This one is going to be in Montana, in Dillon. I had to remember which Montana town Montana Western was in. Sorry, guys, for that lapse in memory. College of Idaho comes away with a 37-35 win. Holy cow. That's going to be... There's no love lost here.
It's insane. The Frontier is just the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, come on. This is like, in terms of I know there's a lot of, gripes about the quality of play in the Frontier, which it's still a very good conference this year. I know that people generally like to pick it apart, but there is some really good football being played. But just from the storytelling aspect of football, this is insane. This is going to be the most hype game probably on this watch list this week.
This will be the first time that a Frontier team is guaranteed to get into the quarterfinals in a hot minute. I want to say College of Idaho has done it sometime in the last 5 years.
I think so.
I think that's the one who's done it in the last 5 years, but that's the only one that I can remember. And I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't talk about College of Idaho's leading defensive player and apparently great guitar player, Willie Nelson. In the Rocky Mountain High of College of Idaho, Willie Nelson shines through. That is not a misprint. That is that man's name, and that gives me such joy. Palandri has been great. Eli Nurse has been great for Montana Western. Can College of Idaho shut it down again, win twice in the same season? Yeah, that one's going to be a fun one to watch.
Frontier is just so good. See, even the players that they're giving us to talk about
I know.
are just fantastic. It's great. This is my favorite conference to follow. And the fact that they're guaranteed a spot in the next round and you get a conference matchup in round two. Oh my gosh. It's so good.
And you had to. I mean, because this was the only team within 750 miles.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the Sun. You've got to make sure that you stay within that. That's how you stick with the seed. And they were able to on this one. It's a 9-11 matchup, which is reasonable. Kaiser St. Thomas, a 3-13 matchup, a little less reasonable, but still explainable. That 750-mile thing gets tougher the longer you go. And actually, it's been a lot easier with 20 teams, because the pool's bigger to choose from. So that might actually end up saving the NAI a little bit of money. Speaking of money, we are so thankful for those who give us their hard-earned money. I get them every time with those. In our patrons. It is my absolute joy to see if I can make Matt crack up at my.
It's guaranteed. Look how full that list is. Holy cow!
Hey, I have a challenge. Make me make the font smaller. Somebody make me make the font smaller. We are so close. We have a full page here, which I absolutely love. Again, I would make my logo smaller. Make me make my font smaller. I'll take it. This is actually the most patrons we've had in our entire history. So thank you. What I wouldn't do for a few more of you, so that next year I can fly Matt out with me, because it's a lot longer to Durham for him than it is for me.
Yeah, it's a bit of a jaunt. I barely survived the trip to Tennessee this weekend. So
yeah, you'd enjoy Durham though. So always looking for more to be able to do more with it. Honestly, neither of us gets a dime from this right now. Help us like at least be able to buy ourselves a meal at Chick-fil-A or something with with this. Do you even have Chick-fil-A's in Portland, Matt?
we do, yeah.
Whoa!
Not a lot, but we do. And
wow.
there's like one Raising Cane's within a 1,000-mile vicinity. So
we just got a Raising Cane's in Tallahassee. Now we have the holy trinity of chicken places. We have a Guthrie's, a Zaxby's, and a Raising Cane's. Don't ask me which one's best. I can't tell you. They all taste the same. But thank you to DSU Cone, Bob Boone, Roger Meyer, Jeremy Vauble, Shirley LaBella, Fred Christensen, Jerry Quickle, Ace Wellen, Brett, Marty Siebolt, Nick Ryan, Hayden Ferrigno, Kyle Gregory, Tyler Pierce, Justin Hoffman, who I have been seeing in the comments. They're keeping me straight. Thank you, Justin. Steve Speakman, Brian Shake, Julianne Shager, Nate Soapbeer, Stephen Cutler, Julie Lout, Tim Burrow, Dale Norton, Nathan Moore, Dylan Gonzalez, Ryan, Jason Crawford, Zach Ryard, Dustin Wilkie, Charles A. Flowers, Todd Nix, Sean Chamberlain, and Debbie. All right. I saw we had some comments. What do we got? What do we got?
Well, do have to mention Dylan Hester of Evangel. Thank you, Danny, for pointing that out. He's had an absolute incredible season at wide receiver for that squad. Almost 1,000 yards to his name. I think he's at like 999 or something stupid like that.
That poor guy. It's like, stretch out one more yard, my man.
Yeah, but he is having a heck of a season for that team.
Let's see. What else we got? We got anyone? Let's see.
A couple Evangel. A lot of Evangel love in here.
Hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, KCAC's finest.
I do. Okay, so the NAI with a real bracket. Yeah, I do too. But also, if the NAI were to ever do a real bracket, you would have to very much underwrite the visiting team, more so than it is now. Right now, the visiting team gets a portion of the money that it takes, that the NAI requires of a home team to host a game. Last time I heard, and this was 4 years ago, so, inflation has occurred since 4 years ago. But 4 years ago, it was $30,000 per game to host. A lot of that does go to underwrite the visiting team, to pay your refs, to kind of staff the game a little bit. If the NAI did a true bracket where they were not, where they lined them up 1 through 20, you put 13 versus 20. I think we can safely assume Ottawa was 20. You're going to fly them to Miami Gardens.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem.
You're going to need a lot more of the dollar bills.
Yes.
And so while I agree, I would love to see a true bracket, I'm just glad that they don't do this in quadrant style like some of the NCAA divisions do it. Because let's take FCS, for instance. You've got North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and South Dakota. That if they do regional quadrants, those teams can't all come out of the same region. And at any given year, those could be championship teams.
Yep, absolutely.
So I do appreciate it. Now, when we get down to the semifinals and we get some dumb stuff like Grandview versus Northwestern, you're going to hear me gripe. Because at that point, bite the bullet, fly it. Because I want the best. I want to see selfishly the best matchup in Durham. I want the best team to hoist the red banner. Even if that, in years gone by, even if that is Morningside versus Northwestern, I want that to be my championship game.
Absolutely, yeah.
Let's see. Division II, yeah, lots of rematches with Division II, $34K now, which is an obscene amount of money.
Insane, yeah.
I mean, think about,
crazy.
Think about Northwestern. You get that bye in the first round, but you're hosting, if you win out, a second round game, a quarterfinal game, a semifinal round game. That is quick math. Oh, I can't do quick math. Who am I joking? $102,000 that your college has to come up with. And in a day and age.
NAIA Institute, no less.
Right.
Division I school.
Right.
Salary and all.
That's a heck of a lot of money. And so that's why, even though I didn't care for St. Thomas pushing their stream last week into a paid stream, I understand why. Especially if you are Northwestern, if you're Morningside, if you're some of these top tier teams that you're going to be really stinking good year after year, you budget for that. But if you're someone like a Louisiana Christian, like an Ottawa, Ottawa probably does because they're absurd like that, and they have championship mindset. Just ask the women's flag team. You don't have that money sitting in reserve.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are NAI football squads out there that their entire football budget for their program is $120K. 105 is a lot of money. So yeah, no, I get it. 100% get it. Yeah, Chris is right. LCU played well until they got down 14. Again, having like 9 turnovers in one game is not
It's
it's not
not gonna help
conducive.
you out much. No.
Not conducive to winning football. Bethel Evangel is going to be good. Now, this is the one I'm going to complain about. That one's going to be a paid stream, and I can tell you that. Now, the good thing about Bethel is that they do publish their radio stream. So you can go listen to these two good old boys call a football game. It's going to sound about like this, but it's going to be free. And free is better than cheap. So go hit up their audio stream. That was my big gripe about St. Thomas, was that they didn't also publish an audio stream. Dorton Dickinson State should have switched places. I completely agree. That in point of fact, if you were a patron and watched the live stream, the live watch along on Saturday, that is precisely what I thought was going to happen. I thought we were going to get Northwestern Dickinson and actually I said Marion Dort with St. X traveling to Georgetown. That would have been a lot of fun and still wouldn't have been a flight.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
But alas, I don't get to make these decisions. Let's see. Anything else? Nope. All right. Well, no live stream, no watch along this week for patrons. I was gonna say I was gonna take a vacation, but what are vacations? No, I'm going to do other work instead of this work. So we will see about having one for the quarterfinal round. We will see how much my wife allows me to get away. That is, I love my wife. I need to spend more time with her. I did marry her for a good reason.
Yeah, I really hope so. Actually, I really hope that's the case.
Yes. That and the 5-year-old mini me are two really good reasons. So we will see. We will look if it's really good matchups. I might just do it. If not, we might just put it off until the semis. I definitely want to do one for the semis. That's going to be, again, 2 games shouldn't be too bad. But for Matt Schwartzler, I am Corey Thorpe, and we will see y'all on your social media feeds.